The latest film in the Hunger Games saga is a prequel set 64 years before the Hunger Games that we know, with Katniss and Peeta and all that. It is an origin story of Coriolanus Snow set at the 10th Hunger Games. Let's talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is in theaters right now and doing pretty well. It, had a less... All right. Fuck it, though. I like that intro. Yeah, we'll stick with the intro. 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is in theaters right now, and after a less than stellar opening weekend, it opened to about $44 million, which was a bit of a letdown for the studio, but it held on really well for weekend 2 and stayed at #1, beat a couple of big movies, including the new Disney animated movie Wish, and it had a $28 million second weekend. So, good word of mouth is spreading perhaps on this movie, and we'll see what I thought of it here in just a moment. But first, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thanks for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel. I would love for you to subscribe, of course, or even hit that notification bell to get the alerts of all my new videos. And I know there's a lot going on the channel because I try to post something new just about every day. So I have playlists on the homepage with movie reviews, TV reviews, some of my more specialty reviews like The Masked Singer and stuff, all in handy-dandy playlists, so you can check out exactly what you're looking for in that regard. All right, so let's talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is about, like I said, Coriolanus Snow and his origin story. Of course, he becomes President Snow in the Hunger Games movies that we know, played by Donald Sutherland. But this is Tom Blythe plays him, who I honestly was unfamiliar with. He is in this show called Billy the Kid, which I think I reviewed. I can't remember. It came out maybe a year or two ago. I think that's on MGM+. But most of the other stuff he's in, I'm not really familiar with. But you have Rachel Zegler, who we know from West Side Story, and she's going to be the new Snow White in a couple of years. But she plays Lucy Gray Baird, who is the female tribute from District 12. Of course, that is Katniss's district, so all coming sort of full circle with that. And she forms a connection with Coriolanus because he becomes his mentor. They have this mentorship program, much like Woody Harrelson was, to Katniss. And so... in the original movies. But he is, of course, part of the rich part of town, the capital. However, he is having a lot of family issues, losing some family members, and his family is basically at this point kind of destitute. So he relates to some of these people. Only certain people in the capital know that his family has no money and is basically not even able to eat. But, he puts on a good front, puts on a good show for everybody, and very few people know. But also in this, you have Jason Schwartzman, who is Lucretius Lucky Flickerman, who is I guess he would be maybe the grandfather or something of Caesar Flickerman from the Hunger Games that we know. So that's kind of a nice touch. Viola Davis is the head game maker of the 10th Hunger Games, and the person who first kind of came up with the idea and first implemented them. And then you also have Peter Dinklage as a dean of the academy where Coriolanus and all of these rich kids go in the capital. So that's sort of the basics. But Coriolanus comes up with these ideas that he presents to the Viola Davis character, to say, hey, listen, maybe we can, take these games in a different direction, because viewership had been down for, the 9th Hunger Games the year before, and okay, maybe this will be the last year if we don't get some eyes on this project. So he comes up with a few ideas that are still implemented in the Hunger Games we know from the original movies, but it helps him here as well connect a little more with his tribute in the hopes that she could win. So this movie is actually in 3 parts. I assume this is how the book was set up. because there is, of course, a book for this as well. But, chapter one, and it says it right on the screen, chapter one. And that is sort of the setup of the games and where we are getting to know these characters. Part two is just the games themselves. And then after the games are over, we still have like almost an hour left in the movie for the aftermath and what ends up happening to some of these characters after the games are over. So it's definitely too long. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. But look, people complained that third Hunger Games book was broken into 2 movies. That was the popular thing to do back in the day. Harry Potter did it. Twilight did it. That final book is so juicy and so great. We want to make 2 movies out of it. But the problem is, it made, I thought, the third Hunger Games film suffer because the real juicy stuff in that book happens towards the end. So the third movie was a bit of a dip until we get to the real meat and potatoes in the fourth movie. So here they decided, they could have ended with the games and had a part 2 with the aftermath, but honestly, I don't think it would have been as exciting. And certainly, once the games themselves are over, how much do we really need to know about the aftermath? Did it need to be almost a whole nother hour of the movie? I didn't think so. That's one of the biggest downfalls of the movie, but a lot of positives here. I really, really liked this. When I first heard there was a Hunger Games prequel, I was like, all right, well, I don't know. Not that I'm necessarily Hunger Games out, but what are we going to add to the story? And then I found out, okay, it's an origin story about President Snow. President Snow is the bad guy, in the movies. He's the bastard. So are we really going to have another one of these like Maleficents, Cruellas, where we find the, the origin story and we're sympathizing with this character? And, they do a nice job of giving us that sympathy. But we also see as the movie progresses, what he will do to win, what he will do to survive. And so we do see all of that kind of creep in. And there is, a bit of a question by the end of the movie. Is he the protagonist of this film or not? And so by the end, I think we are getting shades of that President Snow, that ruthlessness that we see in the films, in the original films. So, that's great. And he played him very well. Everybody really plays their roles well. Peter Dinklage, great, of course. Viola Davis, great, of course. Rachel Zegler, we're still getting to know a bit. I do think some of the Songbirds and Snakes, mainly comes from her. She has this sort of connection where she can, snakes play a couple different parts in this movie, but the songbird part, she's a singer, and so her thing to make everybody at home in Pan Am watching love her is these songs that she sings. Do we have a couple, numbers too many from her in this movie? Yeah, it maybe made the runtime go a little long, but I guess that's her thing. West Side Story, Snow White. She's the singing actress. I don't know. We could have done a couple of those. This movie easily could have been like 20, 25 minutes shorter. But look, I really enjoyed knowing the sort of history of the games a little bit. I loved Jason Schwartzman as the grandfather, or whoever he's supposed to be, of Caesar Flickerman, because Stanley Tucci is, one of my favorites, in that original series. So it was great that they played tribute to him. And of course, there's some winks and nods to the audience of, here's the origins of, the Hanging Tree Song, or here's the origins of this. And it's like, all right, did we really care about that? I don't know. So you got to throw those in there too. But yeah, overall, this is a positive grade for this film, but it's definitely like 20 minutes too long or so. And I thought it was interesting that it was still like that long after the games ended. Everything up to the games is fine, in terms of pacing and stuff. And then we get to that end part, and I guess, yes, there's a lot of things going on. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, spoiler wise, but it did not need to be quite that big of a chunk. Even if they wanted to be faithful to the book, you could play with that a little bit. So overall, I believe the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it's a tongue twister, with a B. I cheated on that B-, but it really is a very riveting movie, even though it is definitely too long. All right, so thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.